Hello, my name is Lillian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. We are finally at the end of the year and I'm so excited because Christmas is just around the corner. For many parts of the world, one thing that we all have in common when it comes to the end of the year is that the atmosphere, like the weather, is usually very dry. Like for some parts that can be winter where you have snow, and like generally the atmosphere is like dry. Some parts like in Nigeria, we don't experience winter. What we have in Nigeria is Harmattan. The atmosphere is usually also very dry, but the only difference is that for winter we have snow falling down, but in Nigeria where we have Harmattan, we have dust falling down. So but generally what we have in common is that the atmosphere is usually very dry. We all know that keeping natural hair moisturized can be tricky but it becomes even more tricky when we approach the colder, dry months. Like during this time of the year, it always feels like the atmosphere or like nature is working against us. You can just moisturize your hair now and like in the next 5 minutes your hair is dry again, like you never did anything, like you've not been taking care of your hair and things like that. So in this video I thought I should come on here and share with you guys and like teach you guys how to keep your hair moisturized. Basically just give you guys tips and on how to keep your hair moisturized even throughout this dry season, so that you can crush all those your hair goals before the end of the year, because we all know how important moisture is when it comes to growing your hair healthy and growing your hair long. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. So the first thing that will help you to keep your hair moisturized in this dry season is for you to stay away from humectants in your leave-in products. Like examples of humectants, we have like honey, glycerin. Those are like two main things that people think about when they think about humectants, but those are not the only humectants that we have. Things like propylene glycol, if you check the ingredient list of your products, you may see things like propylene glycol. That's also a humectant. Aloe vera gel is also a humectant. So you really want to stay away from those things in your leave-in products. Now I don't know if you guys have heard it before, but people always say that when it's in the dry season you really should not use humectants in your hair care, but I feel like you don't have to stay away from them totally. They are not completely useless in dry season. They actually work very well in deep conditioners and like deep penetrating mask and things like that, where you are going to cover your hair as you apply them in. But like for things where you apply like your leave-in creams and like your gels and things like that, you really want to stay away from humectants in this dry season. Let me explain why. So humectants are basically water loving things. I'm going to try to explain as like simply as possible, because I know that some of you may not like have any scientific background, so I'm not going to be mentioning any like deep scientific terms or anything like that. I'll try as much as I can not to mention any like deep scientific terms and things like that. But how humectants work is that let's just look at humectants as something that really likes water, you know. So if you apply humectants on your hair, like, or even if you keep it lying down on a surface, the humectants will suck out, like will draw wherever the water is, going to draw water into itself. So if you apply humectants on your hair, if the atmosphere is like humid and things like that for like most parts of the year, what humectants do is that it draws in water from the atmosphere into your hair, and that helps to keep your hair moisturized longer. So even when your normal, like all what the moisture that you've done dries out, like the fact that you have humectants in your hair is going to draw in water from the atmosphere into your hair, and that will help to keep your hair moisturized. And that's also why it's really nice when you use humectants in your deep conditioning or like deep penetrating products, because the atmosphere, like when you apply the things, your hair is wet and also your hair is wet, both on the surface is wet, you cover with a plastic bag and things like that. The atmosphere surrounding your hair, because it's covered, is like damp and wet and things like that. So the humectants will kind of like draw water in, such that it will make it easier for water to penetrate into your hair. Now I don't know if I've said this so many times in my channel that so many people use aloe vera and they say that aloe vera dries out their hair, and I've also noticed that using aloe vera gel alone dries out my hair. But I noticed that when I use aloe vera gel, or when I use aloe vera in general, it makes my hair absorb moisture better. It makes my hair absorb and retain moisture better. That is basically how humectants work. So when the atmosphere is not like humid and things like that, when the atmosphere is dry, what happens is that the humectants will, because it cannot draw in water from the atmosphere, right? so it's actually going to be drawing water from, if the little moisture that you have in your hair, because the atmosphere is really dry, it's going to be drawing, because it's so water loving, you know, so it's going to be drawing water, the little moisture that you have in your hair is going to drain it out of your hair, and that will make your hair drier, you know. So at this point, like when the weather is completely dry and things like that, you really want to try as much as you can stay away from humectants in your leave-in products. They are absolutely fantastic for deep conditioners, masks and things like that, but for like things where you apply and leave your hair exposed, this is not really the time for you to use humectants in your hair, because you're not really going to be getting the benefits. It's going to be making your hair more prone to dryness because of the property that it is water loving. So it's going to be drawing water from wherever it is. Like what I usually think about when I think about humectants and how they operate, I have not seen this anywhere, but that's just how I do. What I think, just to make it easier for me to understand, is that it's just like I don't know how many of you guys did biology in secondary school. You know about osmosis. Osmosis is basically like a phenomenon where you have water moving from a place of high concentration through a permeable body into a place of low concentration. I don't know if that makes sense. So basically osmosis is like water is moving from where there is a lot of water into where there isn't much water, you know, that kind of thing, through a surface that is that gives it room to flow, you know. So I feel like humectants are more like that permeable surface. So if the atmosphere is humid, it's nice because the humectant will draw the water into the from the atmosphere through which is the permeable body into your hair, so it will make your hair remain moisturized and juicy for long. But if the atmosphere is really dry, because the atmosphere is low in the concentration of water, it's going to be, and if your hair is moisturized, you're going to be sucking out the water from your hair through the permeable surface out of your hair, such that it's going to be leaving your hair dry. So this is really not the time for you to use humectants in your hair care, in your leave-in products. That said, you can actually still use humectants in your hair, but that will mean you will have to be moisturizing your hair more frequently, because your hair will dry a lot faster when you have humectants in your hair in this dry season. The next thing we're going to be talking about is water. You guys know that I'm not going to talk about anything about moisturizing your hair, keeping your hair moisturized and things like that without mentioning water, because water is so water is the most important. Water is what keeps your hair hydrated and flexible and moving and like juicy and things like that. So this period is when you really want to step up your water game, both when it comes to drinking and how you apply in your hair. So you want to increase the amount of water that you are drinking. So if for a normal day you drink like 1 cup of water, this period is not when you should continue drinking 1 cup of water. You should probably increase it to like 2 cups or 3 cups, like that kind of thing. You have to work it out to see what works for you, because like the quantity of water you should be drinking actually depends on your weight and like your mass and things like that, but I'm not going to go into details on that. You can Google it, but basically you should be drinking more water now than before, because the atmosphere is very dry. When you drink water, your whole body will be hydrated. It will affect the quality and the quantity of sebum that your scalp produces, and the sebum that your scalp produces is like the best thing that you can ever use on your hair. So this period, the weather is like really dry and things like that, you want to make sure that your body is producing adequate, like enough sebum that it can possibly produce. And you also want to make sure that the quality of the sebum is like as rich as possible, and that's where drinking water is important. Also, that also has to do with the kind of food that you eat. You want to be eating healthy, nutritious foods, because generally when you eat healthy, nutritious foods, it will affect the quality of the sebum that your hair produces, and that will just help make it easier to keep your hair moisturized. Now, apart from drinking water, putting water in your hair is also very important. This period is not the time when you keep water at a distance. Like, water should be your best friend in this dry season, because like I said always, like and I talked extensively in my how to really moisturize your hair video. I'll leave the video in the cards. Water is your first step of any moisturizing thing that you're doing. If water is not involved, then you're not going to be getting the best results. So you want to step up your moisture game. How much water you apply in your hair, you want to increase it. If you're someone that normally requires like to apply your product on damp hair, then at this period that the weather is like really dry and things like that, you probably want to increase the quantity to like maybe applying your product on wet hair. If normally you put like 1 pump of water when you moisturize your hair, you probably want to increase it to 2 pumps and things like that. Like increasing the water intake, that your water intake, both like consumption, like drinking, and also how you put, like the quantity that you apply on your hair, will greatly help to keep your hair moisturized for longer. So the next thing we are going to be talking about is your products, and like the quantity of products that you use. This period when weather is really dry, you want to increase the quantity of products that you use. It's not just only for your hair, even for your skin. So a normal day, if you normally use a dime size of product, especially leave-in products, if you normally use a dime size, you probably want to increase to 2 dime sizes, you know. So you want to increase the product of the quantity of products that you apply on your hair, because like I talked extensively in my how to moisturize your hair video, products act as sealants, you know. And the problem with this dry season is that no matter how much you moisturize your hair, the atmosphere is constantly trying to suck out all the moisture that you have infused in your hair. So increasing the quantity of sealing that you do, like increasing the quantity of products you apply, thereby increasing the integrity of the sealing that you're doing, will just help to keep your hair moisturized longer. So I highly recommend that you increase the quantity of products that you use in your hair, especially like, and you probably want to switch to slightly thicker products. I know that not everyone's hair likes really thick butters and creams, you know, but even if your hair likes light products, you really want to like switch to slightly thicker, because you want to improve the integrity of sealing that you're doing, just so that your hair does not dry as fast as the atmosphere would want it to. The next thing we're going to be talking about is protective styles. This is the time for protective styling. Like you do your hair a lot of good if you protective style more often than you leave your hair out and about and like free for the atmosphere to do things to it. But protective styles, I do not mean go and do box braids or twist or Havana twist or locks or things like that. Even though that is an option, those things are options, but those are not the only options you have. By protective styles, it can just be as simple as doing like a bun, like what I have here. You guys can see that my hair is bound. It's like in a cute bun. It's not really tight, like as I always say. My buns are usually loose. I can easily pick out hair from my bun. So but if that's why the fact that you want to do protect styles, you also want to make sure that you choose your styles wisely, because if you're not careful, this is the time when you're going to encounter the most breakage when you do protective styles. Because yes, the fact that protective styles helps to keep your hair moisturized longer, because your hair is bound and compact, and when something is like bound and compact, it's going to be more difficult for water to evaporate from it. So that's why protective styling is really good this period. So but like things where your hair is generally bound are styles you want to look out for, but you want to also make sure that you choose your styles wisely in such a way that the styles are not too tight, because if your styles are tight, like now more than ever, you're going to have much more breakage, because generally your hair is drier than usual, you know. So you want to make sure that your styles are not tight at all. Stay away from tight hairstyles. That's why if you are doing protect styles, make sure they are not tight. You also want to make sure that the style that you choose to do gives you access to your hair, especially your ends, for adequate moisturizing, because this period is the time when you cannot neglect your hair for weeks at a time. You have to make sure that you're constantly like checking your hair and things like that, making sure that you're giving it the moisture that it needs, because the atmosphere is ready to suck out every moisture that you have in your hair. So you want to make sure that your protective styles give you enough access to moisturize your hair when you want to or when you need to, but also keeping your hair bound in such a way that it doesn't dry out as fast. This period, personally, I really do not recommend cornrows. Now cornrows are great, they are fantastic protective styles. They're really nice because you can easily like put them like in a bun and things like that, and put on a wig and things like that. But the thing about cornrows is that if you're not careful, most times you because of the way it's done, like you're plating, your ends are not exposed. Just like at the back, the ends at the back are only the ends of your hair that will be exposed. Like the rest of your hair, the rest of your ends are usually not exposed in cornrows. So you're not going to, even if you spray your water in it, like you're not really going to have enough access to really moisturize your ends as you really need to this period that the weather is very dry. And so most times that's why many people, when you do cornrows, by the time you take it down, they see that they encounter so much breakage and so much dryness. That's because even if you spray your hair and try mix your hair with your water and conditioner and spray into your hair, because you do not have access to your hair ends, really I'm going to leave a video in the card to show you guys how I moisturize my hair, particularly how I moisturize my ends to keep them juicy and moisturized. If you see that technique, you see that it's really impossible for you to really moisturize your ends, like detail moisturizing your ends when it's in cornrows. So this period, I would not recommend you doing cornrows as a protective style, because you're not going to have access to your hair to give you the moisture that it needs. You're only going to be spraying your hair, and most times when you spray your hair, in the cornrows, the water or like the moisture and the product they are doing just sinks down to your scalp, and that's why your scalp may start to feel itchy, because everything is just, the gravity is just pushing everything down and it's just accumulating on your scalp. So yeah, putting loads and loads of moisture on your scalp while your ends are not really retaining. So when you take it down, you're most likely going to have a lot of breakage and a lot of dryness. So I really do not recommend cornrows. Twists are awesome. Twists are great because twists are a very nice protective style. You can easily wrap them up like in a bun or things like that, and when you want to, you can easily bring it down and like give your hair the moisture that it needs. Twist braids are like really nice protect styles. If you're not one that wants to sit down and do like a long-term style, you can just, something as simple as a bun like what I have here is awesome, because my ends are not exposed. Like if I want to moisturize my hair, I can easily like remove my hair from the bun, moisturize and put it back up, you know. So buns are really great for the lazy ones who really do not want to sit down to start doing long-term protective styles. Now if you're someone that would like to use extensions to do your protect styles, that's also possible. Like you can give your hair the moisture that it needs even when you use extensions, but you really want to be picky. Number one, you don't want the extensions, like the styles you're doing with extensions, to be too tight, because like I said, now that the atmosphere is drier, your hair is generally drier and it's going to be more prone to breakage. So you don't want to make your styles too tight. You also do not want to make the extensions too heavy for your hair. I talked extensively about that in one of my videos, like where I talked about reasons why your hair is not growing despite your protective styles. I'm going to leave it here in the card so you guys can go and watch it. But basically, you want to make sure that your extensions are not too heavy for your hair. There is a proportion that is good and not good. I'll leave a video in the card so you guys can go and check it out. Another thing you want to bear in mind when you use extensions is that you want to make sure that the extension is not excessively coarser than your own hair texture. So what do I mean? Generally, like silky like extensions, like things that are more silky than your hair, or like the same texture as your hair, are usually better, especially now that the atmosphere is very dry. I will not recommend you using wool, because I know many people use wools to do like box braids and things like that. Those kind of wools where the surfaces are usually very rough and things like that, they can cause a lot of dryness, because the wool usually sucks out moisture from your hair, you know, and that will leave your hair dry. Also, the texture of the wool is usually like very rough, and that can cause breakage even while you're wearing the style, even if you do not make the style too tight. So I really do not recommend wool. I would say that when you're picking your extensions, pick something that is a little bit or like way silky, more silky than your hair. If it's too silky, then it's not going to blend well with your hair, definitely. So I know many people may not want to do that, but just something that is like around the same texture of your hair, or way more silky than your hair, that will be a lot more gentle for your hair, especially in this period that the atmosphere is very dry. So another tip that will greatly help you this dry season is to always try as much as you can to cover your hair when you're going to be outdoors for a long period of time. So you're going to be outdoors like at a stretch for up to like 3 hours, then I highly recommend that you cover your hair. You can just use like a veil, you can use like a hat, you can use like a cap. There are really nice scarves and like hats right now in the market where they are lined with satin bonnets, like satin fabric. So the inner part of your hair, like the inner part of the cap or hat, is like lined with satin, so it's like really gentle on the hair. If you can get those, there are even some like hoodies that come with satin, that are lined with satin. Those are very good options for you. But I highly recommend that you cover your hair if you're going to be outside for a long period of time, because whether you like it or not, your hair is going to dry out if you leave it exposed for a long period of time when you're outdoors. So to prevent that, you want to cover your hair. Just reduce how much direct contact your hair has with the harsh weather conditions, because you don't want to go out and then come back with your hair feeling like you have starch in it. I don't know if you guys have ever, I don't know if other parts of the world do it, but like in Nigeria, there's what we do, like when we put starch in our clothes so that it's like hard and firm. So when you iron it, like it's just going to have like a structured pattern, you know. We do that a lot, like when we wear like natives, like Ankara fabrics and things like that. You don't want your hair looking like you put starch in it, you know. So please try to make sure that you cover your hair when you go out, when you're going to be outside for a long period of time this period. Another thing, one reason why it's important for you to cover your hair, we're going to be outside for a long period of time, especially if you live like in a place like Nigeria where we have Harmattan, where it's not just the fact that the atmosphere is dry, it also comes with dust. having dust, because you're using more products in your hair, if you leave your hair exposed for a long period of time when you're going to be outdoors, the products in your hair will attract a lot of dust, and that will just make your hair get dirty very, very fast. And if your hair gets dirty very fast, it's going to be like, dirty hair is like a good breeding ground for like itchy scalp and like various kinds of scalp irritations. So another thing that will help to keep your hair moisturized this dry season is for you to increase the frequency of activities that you do to infuse moisture in your hair. By that I mean things like deep conditioning your hair, things like moisturizing your hair, wetting your hair, those kind of things. You want to do them more often. Also, you want to be applying like your products more often, because your hair is going to be drying out faster, so you want to be ahead of the drying of your hair, so you want to be applying your products more often. So if you're someone that normally moisturize your hair once a week, or like once in between washes, let's say you wash your hair once a week and then you moisturize your hair once in between the wash days, now that the atmosphere is very, very dry, you want to be moisturizing your hair more frequently. So maybe you want to increase it to moisturizing it 2 times in between your wash days of once a week, you know. So you want to be moisturizing your hair more frequently. You want to be deep conditioning your hair frequently. If you're someone that normally washes her hair like once a week, you may want to look into like probably doing like a water rinse midweek, you know, just to infuse moisture into your hair, because your hair is going to be drying out more often this period. And that's why I highly recommend that you pick protective styles where you have easy access to your hair, like styles like twist and braids. Even if they are done with extensions or with just your hair, preferably with just your hair, you can easily just quickly do like a quick if it's like a co-wash. This is really the time where co-washing is great. I'm not saying depend on co-washes on overall, like for all your hair care, like only wash with a conditioner, but I'm saying that like in between your wash days, if you can continue to wash your hair once a week, you know, but in between your wash days you want to like just soak your hair in water, drench your hair in water like once. If I can probably do a co-wash, I can do just a water rinse, just to like infuse that moisture back into your hair, because your hair is drying out a lot faster. So activities that infuse moisture in your hair, you want to increase the frequency of those activities, just so that your hair, you maintain the integrity of your hair and your hair remains moisturized throughout this dry season. The last thing we're going to talk about is many people feel that okay, because the weather is really, really dry and things like that, so that means that I'm not going to be washing my hair as frequently because I do not want my hair to dry out. Now, if your wash day is done correctly, wash day is not a day of drying, like a day that will make your hair dry. Wash day is supposed to be a day where you go back to reset and infuse the moisture in your hair. So ideally your hair should be the most moisturized on your wash day. So if that's not the case for you, then you're probably not doing things right. You've not gotten what your hair really needs, and you probably need to switch up some things to give your hair what it really needs. But ideally, wash day should be a day where you really go into infuse moisture in your hair. Your hair should be at its best, at its peak when it comes to moisture on wash day, or like the day after wash day, you know. So the fact that the weather is dry doesn't mean that you should stop washing your hair as you normally would. I really do not recommend you washing your hair any less than you normally wash your hair before the whole dry season came in. If for anything, I would even recommend you washing your hair more frequently. But if you're going to be adding more wash days, like if you're going to be washing your hair more frequently, you really do not want to be washing your hair with anything harsh, anything deep cleansing, anything sulfates that contains sulfates, anything like deep. You don't want to be doing that. Like if you're someone that uses black soap to wash their hair, let's say you wash your hair once a week and you want to increase the frequency of your wash days, you really do not want to be washing your hair with your black soap or your sulfate shampoo more than once a week. So in between your wash days, if you're going to add more wash days to your routine, you probably want to be looking into doing plain water rinses. You want to be looking into doing like apple cider vinegar rinses, or like tea rinses, or you want to be doing things like co-washing, you know. So you don't want to increase how often you wash with a shampoo. Your routine, if you already have a routine that is working for you, you don't want to be washing your hair more frequently. However, because you're going to be using more products in your hair, you're going to be applying your products more frequently. You're going to be applying more quantity of products whenever you moisturize your hair. Your hair is going to get dirty faster. Now, if you're someone that lives in Nigeria, where we have Harmattan, where the dryness comes with dust, your hair is going to get dry. Your hair is going to get dirty, rather. Hair is going to get dirty faster. So reducing the frequency of your wash day is a no-no. Do not do it. Do not do it, because like I said, I talked extensively in my how to moisturize your hair video. I'll leave it in card and also in the description box. When your hair is clogged with products, even if you do all the right things to moisturize your hair is not going to be absorbing the moisture in your hair because it is coated with products. So those products act as barriers that will not allow the moisture to penetrate into your hair. So the fact that you're going to be applying more products will mean that your hair is going to get clogged, you're going to have build up faster. So reducing the frequency that you wash your hair is it's not, I do not recommend it at all, despite the fact that the weather is dry. So you still want to be washing your hair as you normally would. If at all, you should even increase how often you wash your hair, because you're going to be using more products, your hair is going to be getting dirty and clogged faster. So that's why I highly recommend looking into other means of gently washing your hair, like using cold washes, water rinses, tea rinses, and the likes. So at the end of the day, you really have to want to pay attention to your hair and just do what it needs. So even if you just washed your hair yesterday and today your hair is already feeling dry and like brittle and things like that, moisturize again, because like the climate, like the weather is different for different parts of the world. So even for the same place, today may be really dry, the next day may not be as dry. So really just paying attention to your hair and giving your hair what it needs is actually the most important thing, you know. So if you, let's say this week you wash your hair once this week and then you do cold washes like 2 times in the week, and then because it's really dry, let's say next week is not as dry as this week, you don't have to do that, you know. So just basically pay attention to your hair and give it what it needs, trying as much as you can to be ahead of the environment, to make sure that you're ahead of the environment. You moisturize your hair before it gets so dry that it's breaking with just the slightest touch. That is something you really want to avoid this period. So with that, we've come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if this is your first time on my channel, please consider subscribing. I give I make so many videos regarding hair care, caring for your hair. I give so many helpful tips. So many people have testified to it. I get so excited and so happy when you guys come back to me to say that, oh, so tip that you gave me worked for me, my hair is flourishing, my hair is doing great. Like, that is really what keeps me going. That's the reason why I make all these videos, just to help you guys, because I want you guys to have easy hair care, but I also want your hair to flourish. Like, that is the point of all these videos I make. And I'm always very grateful when you guys give me feedback telling me that you found it helpful. So thank you so much for all the feedbacks, and I hope to continue to give you guys helpful tips that will make your hair care easy and will make your hair flourish. So yeah, we've come to the end of this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.